Now, a coroner has recommended a review of police training after a tourist died when officers tried to restrain him. An inquest jury found today that the officers had ignored Frank Ogboru as he cried out, "I can't breathe, you're killing me." The Crown Prosecution Service will now re-examine the case. Be warned, this report by our Home Affairs correspondent Simon Israel does contain distressing scenes.
43-year-old Frank Ogboru was a married businessman from Lagos. He'd come to the UK for a wedding and was staying at a friend's place in London. What was to follow one night in September 2006 only reached the attentions of an inquest last month. For Mr. Ogboru died because of what happened on this street in Woolwich at the hands of several police officers, and all filmed on CCTV. The fatal sequence of events began after police were called to deal with a minor argument between Mr. Ogboru and another resident. CCTV shows that for 11 minutes the conversation was amicable. He was asked not to return to the flat and was then arrested for fear of a breach of the peace. There was a struggle. CS gas was used, but to little effect. The Nigerian car dealer was then pinned to the ground, his head on the curb. Two more officers arrived. Onlookers heard cries. One filmed the struggle on his mobile phone.
Leave it out! Leave it out! Oh! Oh!
A camera directly above recorded the struggle. At some point, one officer, according to the coroner, recounted Mr. Ogboru crying, "I can't breathe, you're killing me." The officer said such complaints were a common thing when restrained. The inquest jury decided a knee was placed on his head as efforts intensified to handcuff him. In the moments that followed, Mr. Ogboru stopped breathing with 4 officers on top of him wresting control, and he never regained consciousness. The footage at this point appears to show he'd stopped struggling. One officer said he thought Mr. Ogboru was playing dead. The inquest was told that none of them noticed anything was wrong until the heavily built man was turned over as part of normal procedure. But the inquest could not determine at what point the tourist died.
They took away my life. They took away my peace. They took away my joy. They took away comfort from me.
The consequences of what happened here on this South London street 4 years ago are still unresolved. While Mr. Ogboru died at the hands of police officers, no one has so far been held to account. The Crown Prosecution Service has refused to bring charges, but last week was asked to take a second look at the evidence. Part of that will include the degree, as the jury noted, to which the dangers of positional asphyxia, where breathing is severely restricted by the way someone's positioned, were recognised during the struggle. In a letter to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, the Assistant Deputy Coroner Selina Lynch wrote, "It seems that 4 police constables with varying degrees of experience and training all had positional asphyxia at the back of their minds rather than the forefront. They had not acted in accordance with the standard operating procedure in getting Mr. Ogboru into a safe position as soon as possible after control was achieved."
So I do think the Metropolitan Police need to think very carefully about what this case says about not only the training of police officers in the dangers of restraint, but the attitudes of some of the police officers to those people who they are restraining.
The Metropolitan Police told Channel 4 News tonight they regret the death, express condolences to Mr. Ogboru's family, and have asked the coroner for clarification on what specific aspects of training need to be reviewed.